Welcome back to Wave 3 Listens Live. We are at the University of Louisville Hospital grounds today. We're right by the helipad, actually, and we're going to be showing you a lot of different things that have to do with the trauma center here at University of Louisville Hospital. And we have Dr. Glenn Franklin with us today. He'll be taking your calls if you've got questions. 571-5263 is the telephone number. If you want to go ahead and give him a call, that would be great. And also, let me introduce you to Jesse Yarbrough. And Jesse is a paramedic, and you've been a paramedic for 5 years now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so tell me about what happens with the patient generally before they get to the hospital.
After they call 911, it's routed through our dispatch center through MetroSafe, and now they have the ability to not only dispatch over the radio, but they send us a copy of all of the CAD information to our mobile data terminals in the truck, which also provides routing information and any run updates. When we arrive on scene, we'll assess the patient, we'll stabilize what we can initially, and then we will transport them to the hospital.
Okay. Which, of course, I mean, I can't even imagine. You guys must have to have nerves of steel to be able to do what you do.
Sometimes, yes.
When you come across an accident or a patient that's gone through a heart attack or a stroke, and you get there, you've got to be able to do things quickly, evenly, and then get in your truck and drive. Correct.
They say that EMS is long periods of boredom interrupted by moments of sheer terror.
Oh, sounds like a good analogy to me. Okay, so you also we've got video of the inside of your vehicle that we're looking at right now, which is really kind of interesting. You have all sorts of equipment in there, right?
Yes, we have almost a mobile emergency room. We have everything from advanced airway equipment to IV fluids, different medications, cardiac equipment, splinting, bandaging, just a host of different equipment and supplies that we can use.
Okay, so your first job is to try and get the patient stabilized and in the vehicle and to the hospital. Is that an okay assessment? Maybe not.
Yeah, that's correct. We EMS has evolved from where it started in the 60s and 70s. You know, we no longer work for the funeral homes. We no longer drive, hearses and just toss people in the back and go. We're actually have some pretty advanced medical training now, so we stabilize what we can on scene, and we also recognize the fact that most injuries don't require a paramedic. They need bright lights and cold steel. Okay. Okay, and to that point, one of the things that the paramedics can do, Dr. Franklin, is communicate with you guys at the emergency department or the trauma center almost in real time.
Yeah, it's just amazing where the technology has come, and probably a lot of the listeners don't realize that some of the early emergency medical services really had a history here in Jefferson County. As Jesse sort of alluded, the sheriffs and the funeral directors would pick up patients at accident scenes because they had vehicles that they could drive them to the hospital. This is before it was ever really a recognized specialty. And one of my ancient predecessors here back in the 1920s and 30s, Dr. Griswold, recognized that if he could talk to these people, he'd have a little bit of forewarning. So he convinced the sheriff's department to put a makeshift radio in the old general hospital in the emergency room, and thus it began the mobile communication to the trauma center. But now it's really advanced. They can send their electrocardiograms. They give us a whole host of information. And once they walk into the trauma center, and we have a room we call Room 9, which is where all the critically injured patients come to, they're giving us a rapid feed down sort of from head to toe of what they found, what they've assessed. And it really makes my job easier because it cuts to the chase for me. They frequently talk to family at the scene. They know exactly what happened. Right. The patient may not be able to tell me that. True. So they are the patient's eyes and ears.
Okay. And I have to say this since you brought up patients, because I'm going to throw it out there for everybody that's watching today. My mom had a massive heart attack about 12 years ago, Jesse. And one of the things that just drives her to distraction to this day, she's perfectly healthy now and kind of mean, is the fact that people do not pull over for an emergency vehicle. If she hadn't made that call to 911, gotten in that EMS vehicle and gotten to the hospital in the timely fashion that she did, she wouldn't be alive today. And so it's so important to make sure that you are recognizing that that vehicle could be life or death.
That's right. I believe most of the stickers say pull over or slow down and pull to the right, if at all possible. We also see a lot of people whose car stereos are too loud to hear the sirens and the air horn, or they're too busy either talking on their cell phones or sending text messages to realize that there's an emergency vehicle behind them.
Okay. Arg. Okay, I got that off my chest. We have somebody that wants to chat with us today. His name is Richard. Hello, Richard.
Hello, hello. You hear me?
Hey, Richard. Yeah, thanks for calling.
Hey, thank you.
What's on your mind today?
I wanted to compliment the service. Both my son and I have needed the service of the ambulance, paramedics, and a helicopter. My son was flown in from Corydon, Indiana, to the University of Louisville, and he was, he hit that construction area over there and had a terrible accident.
Oh, no.
And the helicopter came, and a woman stopped and held his, and they prayed until the helicopter got there. And it was a wonderful experience, and he lived and is doing fine right now. I was in North Indiana at my parents', and I have a trach, and I couldn't breathe, and the ambulance and EMT took me to VA hospital. Used them twice.
Okay.
And they were wonderful. They helped me out and literally saved my life.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for the call. I really do appreciate it. I'm sure that you appreciate hearing stuff like that, Jesse, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And Dr. Franklin, you did bring up the point earlier that our community is not just Louisville Metro. It is also Southern Indiana, and Richard brings up that point. You can get patients from Southern Indiana just as easily as any place in Kentucky.
About 45% of the patients who come to the University of Louisville Hospital Trauma Center are from outside Jefferson County. So nearly half our volume. Now, we take plenty of injured folks from within our county, but we take a lot of folks. Hardin County, LaRue County, Grayson County, Meade County, Brandenburg. We take a lot of patients from these areas, and they're brought here either by ground ambulance or by helicopter, and it's a real benefit for how quickly they can get these folks here.
Okay. All righty, well, we're going to take a real quick break, and speaking of those air ambulances, we'll be chatting with those guys here in just a little bit and looking inside one of the ambulances, and maybe we're going to let you watch one start up and take off here a little bit. All right, so stay with us. We'll be right back.